Hi everybody, welcome to Muttering with Mule, the weekly talk show in which I talk about games, movies and whatever other shite comes into my head every single Thursday. After watching this, if you enjoy what you've heard, then please be sure to subscribe to my channel on YouTube and check me out on SoundCloud and follow me also. If you want to keep up to date with anything that's going on with my channel, then please be sure to follow me on Twitter at GamingMule88 and Facebook.com/GamingMule88. Now, today we're going to talk about my thoughts on the new Trainspotting movie called T2, which, funnily enough, I believe was a movie that was already released in the 90s.
Come with me if you want to live.
But before we talk about that, I'm going to talk about a brand new format for Muttering with Mule, because previously I did Muttering with Mule exclusively on YouTube, but one of my fellow YouTube colleagues advised me that, Muttering with Mule would probably make a really good podcast. So he suggested that I went onto SoundCloud and iTunes and basically released the audio version on there. But because Muttering with Mule, a lot of it was visual rather than just audio, that probably wouldn't translate entirely well every week to SoundCloud. So I've decided to basically just make this entirely a talk show. Hence, if you're watching this on YouTube, the big fat microphone shoving in my face. So yeah, I decided to go with a brand new format for it. Still going to be the same as before. I'm still going to be just talking about a general subject. It's just there's going to be less visuals and more just me. If you're watching this on YouTube, me just filming myself talking, and if you're listening on SoundCloud, then it's just me talking. So yes. So yeah, today we're going to talk about T2.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Trainspotting 2, which is the sequel to the 1993 movie Trainspotting, directed by Danny Boyle, based on the novel of the same name by Irvine Welsh. And yeah, we're just going to talk about my thoughts on that movie and kind of, just the impression that it made on me. So, if you haven't already seen the original Trainspotting movie, then stop listening to me and just go out and see it. You've had 21 years, why haven't you watched it already? It is a brilliant, brilliant movie and gives you a fantastic insight into kind of British culture in the 90s. If you've never heard of it, it's a film about drugs, it's a film about, I suppose, mild crime, and the relationship between a group of friends and the ongoing struggles of a heroin addict, basically, or a group of heroin addicts. The film is extremely 90s. It's kind of hard to describe it any more than that without going into kind of an in-depth description of the whole plot of the movie, which I'm not going to do because you can check it out for yourself. But it's got a fantastic 90s soundtrack. It's just Britain, Great Britain in the 90s, and it's excellently written, excellently shot, brilliantly edited, and it's kind of typical of a Danny Boyle movie. There's a lot of kind of surreal, dreamlike moments in it, and hallucinations, but they're done very artistically, and that's part of the reason why I believe this film is so popular, is because of the way that Danny Boyle kind of creates these very surreal moments within the movie. Obviously, in Trainspotting, the very famous scene in which Renton is going cold turkey, he's being forced to go cold turkey by his parents, and he's locked in his room, and he's sweating, and he's hallucinating.
I don't feel the sickness yet, but it's in the mail, that's for sure.
All these different, quite horrific scenes, and yeah, I mean, I don't really want to spoil it for anybody that's not seen the movie, but please go and see it. Especially my American viewers and listeners. I mean, I think about half of my audience is from the States, so I don't know if you guys would have heard of Trainspotting in the States. I would assume that you would have done, because Trainspotting and a lot of these kind of top 100 greatest movies of all time lists, it's normally on there. I know when it comes to British movies, like the top 10 British movies or whatever of all time, Trainspotting is normally up there, and it's normally in the top 5. And I know in the past it was voted the greatest Scottish movie of all time. And I think it ends up as number 1 on most of those lists. Although saying that, off the top of my head, I can't actually think of a single Scottish movie other than Trainspotting. There must be some other Scottish movies out there, surely. Let me think. No, nothing is coming to me. When I think of Scotland and movies, all I think of is Trainspotting and Sean Connery.
Pussy.
That's all I ever think of. But then again, once I've recorded this, I'm sure that they'll all come springing back to me and I'll think, shit, why the friggity frag didn't I mention that in the video? Or the podcast. Am I going to call this a video or a podcast from now on? I don't know. Anyway. So, yes, T2. The plot of T2, if you don't know, or you've been living under a rock, or you haven't seen any of the trailers, obviously takes place 20 years after the events of Trainspotting.
Hello, Mark. So what you been up to for 20 years?
And basically, Renton returns from Amsterdam. He's been living in Amsterdam for the past 20 years, and he has like a health scare kind of thing, and he comes back to Scotland for reasons. Renton comes back and he sees his dad, and then he goes to see Spud as well. Spud is still in a very dark place from the first movie. He's still an addict, although he is trying to get off the heroin, but it's taking its toll on him mentally, probably physically as well, but especially mentally, you know. And I don't want to talk too much about Spud without any spoilers or anything like that. Renton also goes to see Sick Boy, who is now like a con artist, basically. Him and his girlfriend, who does it, I don't know if it establishes her as an actual prostitute, but what they do is she kind of lures men in that are like rich, are married, and she goes to sleep with them as a prostitute, and Sick Boy is filming them, and then he blackmails them afterwards out of loads of money, threatens to tell their wives, family, whatever. Begbie is in prison following the armed robbery that he was on the run from in Trainspotting, the original Trainspotting movie, and he manages to escape with considerable ease. I won't say how he escapes, but he does it very, very easily. And he also returns to Edinburgh, and he still holds a lot of hatred towards Renton, and things happen, basically. Like I said, I don't really want to go too much into it without spoiling the movie, because this has been a movie a long time in the waiting, and it would be terrible to spoil this movie for anybody, because if, like me, you are a huge fan of the original, you know, I wouldn't want that film to be spoiled. So yeah, what did I think of it? It was great. It was a really, really good movie. The acting, as I'm sure you can imagine, would be fantastic. I mean, all of the actors, Robert Carlyle and Ewan McGregor especially, fantastic actors, and they definitely do well at portraying these characters once again. Even though they've aged a lot and they've become, I would say they're very different, but actually when you think about the characters, they're very much the same. I mean, Renton's still kind of the, I want to say the sensible one. Yeah, he's definitely the sensible one of the group, because he wants a better life for himself, and he kind of manages to achieve that. Sick Boy was kind of like a con artist in the first one, and he still is in this one, and he's still kind of living a bit of a depraved life, I suppose. Spud is still the innocent, kind of nice guy who you know, has all the wrong things happen to him in life, and Begbie's still the absolute fucking psycho that he was in the first one, and it's brilliant.
Ah, lassie got glassed and no cunt leaves here till we find out what cunt did it. Who the fuck are you? Yes! Ah!
But yeah, so the acting was fantastic. The direction, of course, was also fantastic. I mean, Danny Boyle still does all of his kind of surreal moments in the movie, the weird kind of artsy, hallucinating stuff. It's kind of hard to describe, but if you've seen the first Trainspotting, or indeed even some of Danny Boyle's other movies, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's the great bit in the trailer where you see Spud on top of like the block of flats, and he falls off, and then Renton kind of comes underneath him and catches him. That's a perfect example of those kinds of scenes that Danny Boyle is fantastic at directing. I won't go into the detail as to what that kind of scene is about, but that's a good scene. It's a really very important scene as well. And there's also the one where you've kind of got in the trailer Sick Boy and Renton kind of doing a slide across a football field, doing a football celebration, going "Roar!" Again. That's like a typical kind of Danny Boyle sort of thing, and it's great. You know, fantastic direction, fantastic editing. The story comes across very, very well. It is a hardcore nostalgia trip. There's lots of scenes and references to the original movie. There's soundtrack. There's a lot of the same soundtrack in the movie. It is a massive nostalgia trip, and while the story is great and the acting is great and everything like that, it is just kind of I can't think of the word. It's kind of like a commemoration of the original movie. It just kind of goes off the back of how fantastic the original movie was. There's even like deleted scenes from the original movie that make it into this, as they're kind of remembering things from when they were younger. There's even parts of the movie where even though it's new, like the actors are doing something as their older selves, it's definitely like a mirror image of the original movie. Like, for example, there's a part where Renton is kind of climbing up into the ceiling of Sick Boy's kind of office pub kind of thing, and the way that he kind of looks up and kind of gasps as he gets up into the roof. That is just a blatant kind of throwback to the part in the original movie when he comes out of the famous toilet scene, the worst toilet in Scotland scene, and he just kind of pulls himself up. He's like, yeah, it's blatantly that. Of course, there's the bit in the trailer as well, the classic where Renton is leaning on the bonnet of the car and laughing at the driver. That's in it as well. That's actually a really good scene in that movie. That's one of the few, I think, truly memorable parts of that movie. That is like a chase scene between Renton and Begbie. Begbie's chasing Renton through like a multi-story car park to the soundtrack of Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood, which I thought was brilliant. And yeah, there's a lot of those kind of bits in the movie where it is just a nod to the old movie. There's lots of things that I want to talk about, but I'm really worried about doing anything that would be construed as a spoiler. It's not really a spoiler. I mean, Diane is in it. Diane does make an appearance in it, but she's only in it for about 5 minutes, and it's blatantly just like a cameo to show that she's still alive and well. I would have liked to have seen her in the movie a bit more and play kind of a key role in the movie, because while she wasn't in the original movie that much either, she was still quite an important character, and kind of all of the rest of the old characters get lots of screen time and are main characters in the movie, whereas Diane isn't. And obviously in the original movie as well, the original movie poster, it had Diane on it, and this time round she isn't on it, which is a real shame because it is a nostalgia trip, and because it's a nostalgia trip it would have been nice to have seen more of Diane. I'm not sure what else I need to say about the movie, if I'm going to be completely honest. What I would say is if you are a fan of Trainspotting, then you definitely need to go and see it, because you will definitely enjoy it. If you're not a fan of the first movie but you have seen it, then you may still want to go and see this other one just to kind of see how the story has progressed. But you definitely have to have seen the first Trainspotting to understand the plot of this movie. If you haven't seen the original Trainspotting movie, there's no point in you going to see this movie. You will not have a clue what is going on. You will not care about the characters. You won't give a shit, basically. You will not give a flying fuck about these characters. But as I've said before, if you haven't seen Trainspotting, the original movie, then go and see it. Pick it up. You'll be able to find it in like Poundland or the bargain bin of your local HMV or whatever. You'll find it for cheap, and you will, I would like to think you would definitely not be disappointed in this movie. It is fantastic.
Choose life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a fucking big television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact displays and electrical tin openers.
So yeah, basically that's my thoughts on the new Trainspotting movie, dubbed T2, which is, I still think that that's just weird, why they called it T2. I'm not really sure why they didn't call it Porno, because the sequel to the Trainspotting book is called Porno, so I don't know why they didn't just call it that. Call it Porno and Trainspotting 2, instead of T2, Trainspotting 2. Plus, like I said, we've already had a T2 years ago.
You the legal guardian of John Connor.
And that was a great movie as well. Maybe I'll talk about that one day. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? I would really love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments down below if you've seen the movie, or if you're thinking of going to see the movie. If you've got any questions or anything like that, please put them down in the comments, because I will answer them. I try and reply to all the comments that people make on my videos. Thank you so much for listening or watching. If you enjoyed this, as I've said before, please be sure to subscribe to me on YouTube, and check me out on SoundCloud, and check me out on Facebook and Twitter. If you have any ideas, by the way, for anything that you want me to talk about on Muttering with Mule, then please let me know on Twitter or on Facebook or on the comments. Just any suggestions that you have, please leave them, and you know, if it's something that sparks my interest, then I'll be sure to consider it, and maybe, just maybe, I will talk about it and give you my opinions. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I've been Gaming Mule, and I'll speak to you again next week. Bye bye now.